Welcome back. We are going to walk through one of our algebra assignment pages so that I can show you how I want you to do some work on paper, and then you can put your answers on the Word document. When you're all done doing the practice one with me, then you can go do the independent practice one. So I have included the answers on here because I want you to be able to check your own work. If your work isn't matching or you're not understanding it, take a moment to review and go through it again. Remember, you can always ask me to explain why we end up with a particular question, and I can answer that too. So here I have downloaded on my computer the assignment, and you can also download this one too if you'd like to read it and look at it. I can see that there are a series of problems on here. There are 6 to be specific on this one, and they're word problems. So I'm going to take these word problems and I'm going to turn them into equations, and then I can use my skills to solve them. So as I am working, the most important thing that is going to really help me is if I have my scratch paper. If I am trying to do all of these things in my head, I am going to be miserable and my math is going to be terrible. So even though you're doing your final work on the computer, you should always have your scratch paper out next to you. So the first thing I need to do then is just to read the questions, and I'll do them one at a time as always. So my first question is going to be all about this train. And as soon as I get my beard off there, the train was scheduled to leave at 50 minutes after noon, but due to maintenance, the train left A, minutes later than the scheduled time. At the end, the train left 85 minutes after noon. Find A. So the first thing I have to do is I'm just going to start writing down important information because that's a lot and I don't know what to do with it yet. So I know there's a train. It was scheduled to leave at 50 minutes after noon, but there was some kind of maintenance, and so it left A minutes. That's the part I don't know. And I don't know how many minutes it left after the scheduled time. But at the very end, I know that altogether, after this unknown amount of maintenance time, it ended up being a total of 85 minutes in all. So I'm just going to write this out as what we call a situation equation. That is just me taking the words and writing it into an equation exactly as it is written. Then I can work on my solution equation to actually solve the problem. So in this situation, it was scheduled to leave 50 minutes after noon, but they had some kind of delay. They had to add on some time here. So I don't know what that is yet. They added on some A. And in the end, that ends up equaling 85. So I got to isolate this. And I think this situation equation makes it pretty easy to go through. So in order to figure this out, my solution I want to isolate that variable and get A all by itself. And I know that they were supposed to leave at 50 minutes after. They ended up leaving at 85 minutes after. I'm going to need to do some subtraction and find out how much of that time I added on. So I notice up here that I'm using addition. And if you'll remember from the first lesson that we did, you have your inverse operations, and the opposite of addition is subtraction. So instead of adding this 50, I'm going to subtract it to see what the difference is. So I'm going to subtract 50, and whatever I do to this side of the equation, I have to do to this side of the equation. And now 50 minus 50 is just 0. I'm left with A equals, and here is my solution. In order to find the answer, I need to take 85 and subtract 50. I can also do a drawing. If I said, here's 50 and my number line keeps going, and I know that I get to 85, I got to figure out how long is A? How much is between 50 and 85 on my number line? Well, let's see. 85 minus 50, 5 minus 0, 8 minus 5 is 35. A equals, how many minutes? 35 minutes. So in order to get from 50 on my number line to 85, I had to travel an additional 35 minutes of maintenance delay. So this is an addition problem to start out with, but I solved it by using the inverse operation of subtraction. Now I've figured out my answer. A equals that maintenance took 35 minutes. Now, when I come back to my answer sheets here, I'm going to double check. Oh, yes, we did it right. And then I'll go up here and I'm going to type in A space equals space 35. Now, I know the answer didn't have the label on there, but you know my feelings about labeling. Now, it's going to automatically make this a capital letter A. Is that the end of the world? No. But if you don't want it to do that, when you do A and you hit the space, you can do a back with the delete and turn it into a lowercase a. If you notice that it should be in italics, you can highlight that, go up to italics, and turn it into an italic letter A. Now, you should hopefully remember how to do that from your Keyboarding Without Tears lessons. Most of you have gotten to the point of highlighting, bold, underline, and all of those. Now, if you want to format, make it easier to read, put your answer somewhere better, it really doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to be looking for, were you able to find the answer? And you should be checking your answers. So there's really no reason to have an incorrect answer. If you would like, you can take a photograph of your sketch paper and also show that to me too. I do enjoy getting to see your thinking and what illustrations you may have drawn to help you think of it. So that was the first problem. Let's go ahead and do the second one together. So a flight has 194 seats. After N tickets are sold for this flight, 38 seats are available. Find N. So I know a few details here already. There are 194 seats. I don't know how many were sold. And so I'm trying to find out how many seats were sold, how many tickets. And after all of this was done, there are only 38 left. Okay, so I've got my information down. Now I'm going to start making an equation. They had 194. They sold, I don't know how many, and now they have 38. So this is my situation equation. The situation as written out by the question. My solution, though, this isn't really helpful to me. I got to figure out how I can do some adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing to get the answer. And what I want to know is, going backwards, 38 plus n equals 194. So instead of doing this subtracting over here, I'm going to say 38 plus whatever n is should equal that original total of 194. So here I've got a positive 38. I'm going to subtract it because that's the opposite of adding. Minus 38, minus 38. And yes, some of you may notice that these numbers are very similar to the examples that I gave in the first lesson. They're the same. So I'm going to do some regrouping. 14 minus 8 is 6. 8 minus 3, or I'm sorry, 8 minus 3 is 5. Woo! And then 1 minus nothing is 156. So I think 156 is the number of tickets that they sold, but I want to check my work and make sure it's correct. So if I started with 194 and they sold 156, I should be able to subtract these and get back to 38. So I got to regroup. Okay. 14 minus 6 is going to be 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. They match. I know I did my work correctly. So when I put this into the computer, I'm going to come down to where I want my answer to be, N, and see how it capitalized again. I can just go back, and then the second time it'll let me do that. You can also do a Command Z. Have your parents show you if you're not sure what to do there. So N equals, and we said our answer was 156 seat tickets. Oh, I'm doing a very bad example of hunting and pecking because I'm trying to hold the computer with one hand. You'll type with better skills. All right, again, I can highlight the N and I can make it an italic, and that will make it a little bit nicer. I can also move it over if you want, however you want to do it, as long as I check my work. I come down here, 156. Yes. All right, number 3. Each passenger can bring 2 pieces of luggage with a weight of up to D kilograms. The maximum weight each passenger can carry is 70 kilograms. Find D. Now, if you at any point are having a hard time figuring out what the situation equation might be, you can come down here and see what their suggested one is. Now, when you look at this, you're going to see 2 and D smashed together. That means multiplying. So if we come back to the original question, we have 2 pieces of luggage, and the maximum they can carry is 70. We will assume then that if you multiply those 2 together, they're going to be 70 kilograms. Now, yes, I know they could have one that's 40, one that's 30. You could have options. This is, if those 2 pieces of luggage were exactly the same, what would they weigh? So when I come down here to see my example again, 2D equals 70. Well, that's not too hard to work with. 2D equals 70. I know this is multiplying, and what's the opposite of multiplying? Oh, it's division. Instead of multiplying by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. 2 over 2, we know what that is. It's 1. And anything multiplied by 1 is just going to stay the same. It remains itself. So I'm going to cross those out. And D equals 70 divided by 2. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6, but I'm in the tens place. And I have 10 more remaining to share out. 2 goes into 10, and I'll get 5 nice groups. 5 taken twice is 10, and I have no remainder. So if each piece of luggage weighs 35 pounds, they'll make the max of 70. So if they weigh less than 35, theoretically, then you're good to go. If neither of them is over 35, you know you can't possibly be over 70 pounds. Now, if you want to explain that instead of just writing the answer down, that's actually a more accurate answer. So you could type that into your problems on the computer. We, however, are just going to go on to number 4. So number 4, a train has E, who knows how many cars, and can take 464 passengers. Each car can take up to 116 passengers. Find E. So we know each of these can take 464 total, as long as it has this many train cars in it. So I might even draw out, here's my little train. If I have 116 train cars, well, that's definitely not getting me all the way up to 464, right? So I need to know how many of these little cars. Well, if I get to 116 plus 116, I don't think that's going to be enough. So 1, 2, 3, 1. I'm not even close, right? So I need to take 464 and I'm going to divide it by however many train cars there are, and that should give me 116 in each car. So really, I'm just trying to figure out how many 116s do I need to get to one group of 464. So I'm going to do this. 116 into 464, I'm going to estimate and say that's about 100 into 400. I could also continue with repeated addition. That would totally work. I'm going to say, oh, that's going to go into it about 4 times. Now, I can do my multiplication on this side, or fun way to do it, 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2. 4 times 1 is 4. Ooh! It's exactly 4. Oh, who knew? They used whole numbers. It's almost like they planned it that way. My train, all told, is going to have 4 passenger cars of 116 each, which, by the way, is a huge amount of people in like one car. And then, of course, I'm going to put on my little whoop whoop, because every train needs one of those too. So however I find out my answer, whichever strategy I use, I'm going to be going back to my equation, and I discovered that E equals 4 cars. I'm going to go ahead and I can type that into my worksheet, and then I'm ready to go on to the next problem. So number 5, there are 280 passengers taking a bus route every day. In B number of days, I don't know how many that is yet, but some number of days, there are a total of 1,400 passengers. Well, that's a lot of people. So I'm trying to figure out then, if I take 280 people times a certain number of days, I'm going to end up with a total of 1,400 people that have all been on the bus. So, I gotta figure that out. Let me think. Now, I will tell you on my original example here, in one place they say B and in another place they say D. It really doesn't actually matter. What I am going to see, though, is the multiplication. Now, what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So instead of multiplying by 280, I'm going to divide by 280. And if I do it on that side, I do it on the other. 280 divided by 280, that's a 1. So I am left with B equals 1,400 divided by 28. 1,400 divided by 280. Now, if I want to, I can cut off these zeros and just do 28 into 140. That also works. Yes, you could check on a calculator just to make sure that would work. But I'm going to say, if I have about 300, and I'm going to round this up to 1,500 because that's a nice, easy number to work with. 3 and 15, I know those are pretty friendly numbers. I'm going to estimate 5. So 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40. And 5 times 2 is 10 plus 4 is, oh, look. It's almost like they planned ahead and used friendly numbers. So I know that going back to my original here, it's in 5 days. So after 5 days, I should have 1,400. We're going to test that to see if I'm correct. So 280 times 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 4. Carry, and I get 1,400. Boom. They totally work. So back to my word problem, I would simply enter the answer, check my work, make sure I did everything correctly. So now we're going to do the very last problem before you start doing ones on your own. To encourage people to take the bus company offers a round-trip ticket. One-way bus fare is some amount of money, and a round-trip ticket cost is $13, which gives the passenger a discount of $3. And I need to find whatever the F is. So let's think about this. If I buy a full price ticket, I'm going to have to spend more money. But if I buy a round trip ticket that goes both directions, even though it's twice as much, I'm still going to end up saving money. Because in the long run, instead of buying one ticket and then one ticket, I'm going to buy a round trip ticket that saves me $3 whole. Very exciting stuff. So this ticket, it's going to go there and back again, right? So I'm not just paying one, I'm actually paying for 2 of whatever this round trip cost is. But I know that this amount is going to be discounted by $3. So this way, if I figure out what the original price is for 2 of them, and I'm going to go backwards with my $3 discount, I can figure out what everybody else is paying. So $13. And when I get all of this together, I can go back and figure out the question, which is find F, yes, which gives the passengers a discount. So 2 times F, minus 3. Well, I got to isolate this variable. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for anything not directly attached to the F. And that's this little 3. This is one of the harder problems that we'll do today, which is why it's the last one. Instead of subtracting 3, I'm going to do the opposite. And the opposite of subtracting is adding. So if I add 3, I have to add 3 to both sides. Now, I still have 2F. The 3's are going to disappear into 0 town. And I have 13 plus 3, which equals 16. Now I'm almost done. All I have left here is to get rid of this 2. The fancy word for this is a coefficient, by the way. Now, if this is a multiplication, because I've mushed them together, the opposite of multiplication is division. Instead of multiplying by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. And whatever I do on one side, I do on the other. Now, 2 over 2 is just another way of saying 1, and anything times 1 stays itself. F equals, what is 16 divided by 2? Oh, I know this one. It's 8. So I come back to 8. Now, if I go back and I plunk 8 into my original answer, I have 2 times 8 minus 3 equals 13. So 2 times 8 is going to be 16 minus 3 equals 13. Now I do 16 minus 3, 13 equals 13. Totally nailed it. Now I would go type in my answer. I would check on my answer sheet to make sure that I did my work correctly. And then once you have completed all of your work and you've checked all of your work and you've done all the pages, then you can go ahead and upload that to Teams so that I can see it. And remember, If you want to show me all this amazing work you've been doing, you can take photographs of your scratch paper as you go. If you want to try and type out your thinking on the work, that's also totally cool. You could type it out, but I'm afraid that might be a little bit more complicated. I'd rather you just write it out by hand, and then you can take a photo of that if you want. All right, we're going to leave it there. Please give yourself plenty of time to do the practice follow-up, and I will see you soon. Have a good one.